Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this ATR exclusive. Now, you guys know one of the companies that I love working with is the Dynasty. Which obviously you see them; they do a lot of shows up in Schenectady, Albany, and all that area. Recently, they did a show at Schenectady Pride. The main event was Taylor One Shot against our guest tonight, the one, the only Laylah James. Laylah, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Doing great. I'm glad we're finally able to get to have you on the show.
I know. I'm so happy to be here.
But before we get into what you're doing right now with Dynasty, I know you have Grapple Pro as well, Ground Zero. Before we get into that, for obviously people in upstate New York know who you are if they've seen you wrestle before. For the people who are watching this who may not know exactly who you are, who is Laylah James, the wrestler?
Yeah, so Laylah James is a very dominant, confident, powerful woman. I like to showcase my strength, my athleticism, and I like to be very sexy. So, you'll always see me being a little bit sexy, revealing, flirty, fun, but also, showing my dominance in the ring. I'm known for my strength.
And honestly, I've seen you wrestle now twice because I saw you at the Brace for Impact show and then at the show that we were just talking about before. And yeah, I wouldn't want to piss you off because while you are very attractive, yeah, you could probably twist me like a pretzel, and I'm okay in that department.
Not a pretzel.
But before we get into all, with Dynasty and all that stuff, I would kind of want to go back a little bit. What got you into pro wrestling? Was there a match? Was there something that you saw on TV that you're like, okay, I want to get into this crazy sport?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely have spoke about this. So I definitely have always been a fan of wrestling. Attitude Era was my favorite. I always was inspired by like I said previously about being like very sexy and dominant. I've always been like a fan of the women there that were very sexy, but also when they were in the ring, they definitely did showcase their strength, like China, Jacqueline, Ivory, the sexy divas back then.
No, and I mean, I didn't watch it a lot back then. I stopped watching, excuse me, about 2002. But I remember, in the last couple of years, I've gone back and watched a lot of them. And yeah, especially somebody like China, who is definitely attractive. But again, she is somebody who, once you got her in the ring, good luck. That's all I would say.
Yes, absolutely.
But now, was it just in general then the women of the Attitude Era, or was there a specific match that you saw that kind of caught your
Honestly, it was
attention?
really there wasn't really any match that I can remember. Just I always was watching. I still watch matches that were back then. So there wasn't really any match. It just when I watched it, I was just like, I really want to do this. I want to be a wrestler too, but I just never really knew where to go or what to do to get started. So yeah, that's pretty much. And then once I discovered, the school here in Rochester, I hopped on board, and now here I am, about 4 years in, and I'm excited. I'm happy. I wish I had found out more about the school a lot way earlier in my years, because I'm getting old.
You're not getting old. What what's the school in Rochester?
So Ground Zero,
Okay.
yeah. It used to be Upstate Pro Wrestling, but I'm at Ground Zero now.
No, I've heard, and then I know Ground Zero started, I think, earlier this year. I think they started putting on their own shows, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can definitely find them on YouTube. They have a lot of episodes, different matches, great talent. We have wrestlers from Buffalo area, Canada, Rochester. Yeah.
Now, I know because I've seen some of the matches on there, and I think you've been one of the shining points, to say the least.
Oh, how
Is there,
sweet.
when you've been, in your time with Ground Zero with the shows, is there a favorite opponent you've had, or like, is there one person who you can sit there and say, whenever I go into the ring with this person, they're always going to put me to the test?
I could say honestly, a person that I've wrestled the most is Kata Sin, which I've wrestled her at Excite just this past Sunday, which you can find that match on IWTV and also on YouTube. But Kata, I've had quite a history with her. I think I've had about like 5 matches, 5 or 6. So definitely that's someone that I'm familiar with, and I can wrestle. Each I feel like as our matches go, on, they get better, and it's fun. So I would say Kata definitely is one of my favorite people to get in the ring with, um, as well as I would say Elijah Cruz. I used to be a teammate with him. We had a tag match. It was actually against Kata Sin and Sebastian Braun, who actually is now my partner. But Elijah Cruz is, I mean, we were in a faction for a little bit. I think he's a great wrestler, a great athlete. I would love to do something with him again as well.
Now, one of the matches that I definitely remember because I've seen it, I think I saw it twice actually, was you took on Brother Jonas.
Oh, I remember that.
I'm talking about the infamous spot with the chair in the middle of the ring.
I forgot all about that. That's so funny. Yeah, actually, yeah, so that was his punishment that he had to get.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
but
it's
he was lots of fun. I enjoyed wrestling him. He was really fun. I would wrestle him again, maybe also give him a dance again.
But I remember I was on YouTube, and I don't know if you had posted the match or I think he had posted the match. And I'm watching the match now. When I'm watching a match, obviously I'm seeing it from a fan's perspective
Hmm.
because I'll be the first one to sit there and say I'm not an in-ring competitor at all. The last time I've ever stepped foot into a ring, I tripped going through the middle rope. So that tells you how much of an athlete I am.
Yeah.
But I'm watching the match. And then I see the spot, and I just couldn't stop laughing. I just couldn't, because I don't know if it was just how you were doing it or his. Because the big thing with me is like when I'm watching a match, I always like to look at the facial reactions so then they can tell the story. Because I've learned in my time of watching pro wrestling, the facial reactions are what can tell the story more than what we
Absolutely.
see in the
Yep.
ring.
Hmm.
And I'm watching the match and I'm just seeing his facial reactions, and I'm sitting, I'm going, oh, I'm like, I couldn't keep. It was one of those
You
things
think
of
you
like,
can demonstrate what his facial reactions were?
I couldn't do them as good as he did. Actually, the funny thing is, I'm hopefully going to have him on a future YouTube exclusive. I'm going to ask him about that moment. But want to transition out from obviously from Ground Zero to before we get into the other company in Rochester. I want to talk a little bit about Dynasty because obviously you made your debut with Dynasty at Brace for Impact, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
How did Dynasty come on your radar, and how did that whole transition happen?
So Dynasty actually, I discovered them on Facebook, and I've been watching them, and then um it's a coincidence that like after watching them, I was, Envy had reached out to me and wanted me to be a part. And, I was just like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And so I went to Impact, the Brace for Impact show, and it was really fun. It was actually, I think that was actually my first like multi-woman match, because usually I just do like a single one-on-one. So that was my first like multi woman match. So I was really excited about doing that. And so yeah, it was really fun. I love the energy there. I love the vibe. The crowd is amazing. I really like Dynasty.
Oh, I will. I remember seeing that match because I made the trip up for that show coming from Long Island. Because unless I have something else going on, I always try to make it a point of me to make it to a Dynasty show
Hmm.
because the fact that it's not on Fight TV, it's not on IWTV. So in case something big happens, it's not like one of those things of, oh, go check out IWTV to see so-and-so's debut. It's one of those things that you have to be in the building to experience the moment.
Yes.
And I remember actually leading up to that show, because I had done a week's worth of interviews leading up to that show, where I had on a lot of the talent from Dynasty, including Chris Envy and the current general manager, Kristen DeVille. And every time I kept bringing up the match, because all we saw on the graphic was the 6 of you, and Kristen was in the middle. Nobody, and I kept sitting there going, okay. I remember I had Chris on. I asked him. When I had Kristen, I'm like, okay, what's this match that we're seeing on? I'm like, is it going to be a 5-on-1 match? Is it going to be a gauntlet match? I was like, and she goes, oh, you'll have to wait and see at the show. I'm like, right. Thanks, Kristen.
I hear him saying that too. That's funny.
But I mean, it was definitely, I will say this much, other than the mic issue in that building, which I've been in that building before, and that mic has always had issues.
Mm-hmm.
The gauntlet match that you're talking about, which hopefully in the coming weeks will be coming out on YouTube soon, I thought was one of the standout matches, because on this show, I'm very much a proponent for women's wrestling, because I always feel like the women wrestlers don't get a lot of credit a lot of times.
Thank you. That's so kind.
Because, and I say this because a lot of times, now I don't know if this is promoter's idea or how it works, but I always feel like a lot of times when you see a women's match happening on an indie show, that automatically becomes the bathroom break for a lot of people. And to me, I'm going, some of these women, especially like yourself, like Taylor, Christina Marie, sometimes that's the best match on the card. So I wish more people would give the women wrestlers in independent wrestling, I'm not just saying upstate New York, I'm saying overall.
Yeah.
Would give them more of a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Now, obviously, you had what the 6, of the women in that match, was that the first time you had worked with a lot of them?
Yes, my very, very first time working with all of them.
What was that experience like?
It was I didn't get a chance to work with all of them because it was like a elimination style type match, but I was excited to, but yeah, it was fun. Geez, I can't even remember her name, and I feel so horrible. But the girl that I went up against, it was fun working with her. I'm having a memory issue right now, so I'm really apologize.
I get it, trust me.
But yeah, it was really fun. It was really awesome. It was just cool to be around a whole bunch of the female talent, and because I don't really get to experience that. I'm used to wrestling a lot of guys because here in upstate New York, it's very difficult to get women wrestlers around. But considering my strength and my size, it makes sense for me to be able to get in the ring with guys. So that's why, thankfully, with that, I'm able to still, wrestle. But at the same time, I would love to, still have more women matches.
Believe me, I totally get that. And that was one of the things that I kept bringing up a lot when I was doing all my interviews, is that you don't see and a lot of independent wrestling shows, you'll see one women's match, maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's one company that we work with down in Jersey called Bree Combination Wrestling, which they actually have.
Oh my God. I actually hopefully will be working for them soon.
Right. Yeah, they have an all women's show called Queen of the North.
Oh, nice.
So other than them, Dynasty is the only other company that I can think of that I've seen where it's not only do you see a lot of women in the ring, but also you have a lot of women behind the scenes as well, which you don't see a lot in independent wrestling.
Yeah, well, there was one company, Titan Wrestling. I remember when I wrestled for them, it was an all-woman show. It was Battle of Athena.
Yep, I remember. I was probably at that show. because that was one of the companies, Titan, that I used to work with. I'm trying to think here. No, I don't think I was at that show.
Yeah, so I was there, and that was pretty fun. It was good to be around a whole bunch of girls. I did a one-on-one with Amanda.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
No, it definitely has been that. Looking at Schenectady Pride, obviously, like I said before, you were in the main event against Taylor for the transgender title. I don't remember the exact name of it off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's what it was.
How important of a match was that to you?
So, actually, I honestly, at first, I wasn't really too sure about it, only because, um, you know, of course, I'm trans. If you know, you know. Um, but it's not something that I really like to as like broadcast, I guess I could say. So I kind of was a little hesitant about doing it because I want to be known as like Layla the wrestler, like she's the wrestler. I feel like when you kind of put like a label on yourself, it's kind of like, I don't want to be known as like Layla, the trans wrestler. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just, I feel like it kind of takes away from who I am as a person and also, my talent because people are so strong on the transness side. And considering that there's so many people that have so much hate towards trans women, I feel like it's kind of like one of those things where once they find out I'm trans, they kind of like will overlook me. So I never really kind of like went to the whole, broadcasting it. Not that I'm ashamed of who I am, but I don't know, it's just me. But then as I put thought into it, and as I also knew it was Pride Month, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to step outside of the box and just do it. And it kind of like helped me, be a little bit more like open with myself. It kind of made me feel like, I don't give a F, because I am who I am. And if no one likes it, oh well. And um, what was more important for me was to be able to make Taylor happy because I think she's a really great person, very sweet, and I knew how important it was for her, and I was very honored that she wanted to do it with me. So I was just like, okay, cool, I will do it. And we ended up having, I feel like it was a pretty good match. It was very hard hitting. I actually, in the previous podcast that I had, I actually talked about Taylor, how she was definitely a hard hitter out of all the women that I've wrestled. She definitely is a hard hitter. Um, but she's great. And I know that she sometimes struggles with, people that are hateful. And, it's so sad because she's such a great person and such a great, wrestler. We all have areas of improvement, as well as myself. But I feel like I said previously about like, I feel like when people find out that you're a specific thing, they kind of like, that's all they care about. They don't care about you being, what you're bringing. Sorry
Right.
to blabber on.
Oh no! You're good because you actually gave me some time to come up with a couple of follow up to that. And to be honest, the people who think that, who when they hear that you're trans and that's kind of where they stop. To me, it's like to me that's what I call an ignorant F. I'm not going to say the word. I think people kind of know what the word is. To me, as long as you're happy, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're good. No, what I was going to say was I was lucky enough to be the one filming your match with Taylor.
Oh, thanks.
I was the one who basically it took me. I had gotten there because, like I said, I live on Long Island, so for me it takes a couple of hours to get up there. And I remember getting up there. I was like, "Oh, I'll be up there by 3:00, not a problem." Yeah, I didn't end up getting to there until probably 10 minutes before the show was supposed to start. Because what ended up happening was, and I actually have not told the story live yet, was I kept going off the Facebook posts, and the Facebook post sent me towards the park next door to the college. It wasn't until I finally parked, because I remember seeing all the pictures of the buildings. I'm like, oh, maybe it's over here. And I'm walking, and mind you, I don't like to wear shorts a lot of times, so I'm wearing jeans. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, I'm gonna feel this. But no, I was the one sweating my ass off, filming the match. And I'll be honest, like I said, watching the match, I kind of saw, maybe it wasn't so obvious to people watching it who were fans there, but me sitting, with the camera as close as I was, I kind of saw the emotion in both you and Taylor in that match, because there was history being made.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I think you guys both told a great story. And honestly, I could see this becoming a future rivalry in Dynasty down the road.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Because I definitely see you and Taylor definitely having a lot of chemistry. And like I said, you guys told the story. And that's the one thing I always push for on my weekly show
Yeah.
is good storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, you've been with Dynasty now for 2 shows, so you've gotten to meet a lot of people. Who are some of the people that you're glad you got to meet in your time with Dynasty so far?
Yeah. I really was taken away by Black Rose. I think his whole look is incredible. He's a great athlete. I definitely like his work. I'm happy that I met him. He's really great. Um, it's funny because like I always say, like, even though I'm a wrestler, sometimes I also become a fan too to other wrestlers. So
I totally
it's
get that.
funny that when that happens, when you're like a wrestler, but you're also a wrestling fan of your peers and people that you meet and stuff like that. So I definitely have become one of the fans. I think he's great. I Taylor definitely too as well. I'm happy to have met someone. Um, you know, um, I know she probably won't mind, but her and I actually had a moment when I first met her in the locker room. We had a little, heart to heart, woman to woman type conversation. And, I think that's what got us connected. But it was really great to have, another girl like myself around, because don't really get too many girls like me that I'm around. Like I don't really get around girls like that. So it's really comforting in a way, you know what I mean? So it was really great to had met her. And yeah, like you said, I'm hoping that her and I can do more stuff. It'll be fun. Maybe even become a team of some sort. Mm, yeah. Yeah. So I feel like I'm talking too much.
No, Layla, you. I'll be honest. I've had guests on here before that they say, like, I'll ask them a question and they'll just say one word.
Okay.
So with what you're doing, believe me, I have no issues with it at all. Trust
Okay.
me.
Great. So,
But the
but the
one thing I would, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say the whole dynasty like vibe, like from the first and then the second time I've been there, and then I'm gonna be a third time the end of the month. I'm really excited. The 29th. So I really felt like I was just like at home. Everyone is just so welcoming. Everyone is just so cool. I don't know. So I really enjoyed it, especially like Pride show was really fun. I really love that. It was really fun to be around all the community and how they were like so like supportive and you know have such great energy. Yeah.
Oh no, I completely. And it's funny because when I posted on my Facebook page that I was going to the show, I had a few people who looked at me kind of cross-eyed, like, "Oh, why?" Almost like we were talking about before about the people who have their issues, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a few people who looked at me like, "Oh, why are you doing it?" I kind of looked at them. I'm like, "What difference does it make?" To
Yeah,
me, I look at it this way: if you're a good person, I don't care I don't care if you're gay, straight, pan, a whatever. I don't care. To
mm,
me, as long as you're a good person and you treat people with respect, that's all I care about.
absolutely.
Everything else is secondary. And and it was my first time. I'm going to be honest. It was my first time ever going to a Pride event, and honestly, it was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Just being in there, being up there, seeing everything in action, seeing the crowd, and that was the one thing I noticed was obviously Dynasty does a lot of their shows from Empire Live. Obviously, that's where Light of the Sky is going to be the end of this month. This was one of the first times that I have seen a Dynasty show not in a building per se, because the only other time was for Ward of Elite for Brace for Impact. So this was the first time I'd seen a Dynasty show not in a building setting, and the crowd was as electric as it is when they're at Empire Live.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is, like I said, the crowd was incredible. Just being up there, because I've said this for a while now. I feel like when it comes to Dynasty, it's a family.
Yeah,
I call it a dysfunctional family, but it's a family.
yeah,
But to me, like with me, obviously, I'm not an in-ring competitor. I'm not a backstage correspondent. But
yeah.
being a part of it, has kind of helped me become a better podcaster almost in a weird kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the fact talking to Chris, talking to a lot of the talent, learning. I mean, I've learned a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, but I still sit there and be like, you know what? I'm still a fan at heart. Like I go to shows and the guys will be talking. They'll be like, oh, let's make sure there's no fans here. And I'm looking, going, oh, I'm not a fan then. Like people have already said, I'm a part of the industry, but I'm like, but in my head, I'm like, no. I'm like, vicariously, yes, because of the podcast, I'm part of the industry. But in my heart, I will always be a fan first.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I look at it. And what was I'm drawing a blank here because, like I said, we talked about Ground Zero, we talked about Dynasty. What was the third company
Um, that I
that you're a
trained.
part of?
Well, I also Grapple Pro.
Grapple Pro. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
yes, because that was my question I want to bring up to you. Obviously, in Grapple Pro, you're teaming right now with Sebastian Braun. How did the name of your tag team come to fruition? I'd love to hear the backstory to this.
So we don't necessarily have a name per se, but we think hopefully that'll be created soon. The whole us teaming together just happened very randomly because um I guess it just we just kind of like go well. He likes to present like he's the ladies man. He likes to showcase that he's like the man, sexy sex symbol. um and I think like I said, I'm sort of like a girl that likes to show sex appeal but also dominant. But I am happy that I was also discovered with my you know my sex appeal, and I think that's what they that's why they decided, like, okay, you two would be perfect together. And actually, it's funny, for a very short period of time I actually was gonna go for this BDSM gimmick where I was going to be like this dominatrix type woman, but it didn't really go too well for me. So I stopped doing it. But I feel like I could kind of recreate that in a different way. It just wasn't really appropriate, I guess, for family crowds, but it was something that I was definitely wanting to do. I was inspired by I don't know if you remember Shaniqua, um, when she had the two guys on the leash, and
Yeah, no, I remember that. And
so yeah, so that's what I was kind of like. I was like, you know what, I want to do that too. I want to have um, two little guys, on a leash, and I could be this dominant woman that, spanks her opponents after. Um, so that's why, and that's actually what comes to. That's the reason why I gave Jonas the lap dance, because that was his punishment, and that was my idea at one point, was to, punish guys, but in a more flirty, sexy way.
and
So
it's
maybe I'll bring it back. I'm not sure, um, but it's fun. And, but me and Sebastian recently, we actually have two matches that are out on YouTube right now. So I think we go well together. We actually are going to be wrestling again this Sunday for Ground Zero, another taping. So I'm really excited about that too. Um, so yeah, you guys have to check it out. Go on YouTube and look up Laylah James and Sebastian. And also, if you see my little previews on my Instagram, you could see that, we just go well.
I got two more questions before we wrap up. In your 4 years of wrestling between Ground Zero, Grapple Pro, and Dynasty, and the other companies as well,
Oh,
do
yeah.
you have one match that stands out to you that you look back and you're like, I'm glad I had this match?
Yeah. Honestly, so I have a match that I'm really proud of, and it's actually my highest viewed match. Um, Recently, I just looked at it, it's 13K views. But I was able to have a match with my best friend. So it was Laylah James against Mr. Fancy, who happens to be my very actual real life best friend. We were able to have a match with each other, and what um, is so good about it, and why it's so important to me, is because years ago, before him and I both became wrestlers, him and I would always wrestle each other, like play wrestle, and we would always talk about how we would want to become wrestlers. And years later, here we are, actually wrestling, and we were able to actually have a match one-on-one with each other. So that's one match that I'm very happy, and I feel like we did a great job. I feel like obviously the fans like it, people like it, because it's like a high viewed video. And so I could say like that would definitely be my most match I'm proud of.
No, I totally get that, and it's kind of ironic though, because we were just saying before that you guys used to play wrestling. Now you're essentially play wrestling again, but just in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
That's the nice way I can put it. But last question I got for you: who would be? It's actually a two-part question.
Oh, you're trying to get me out.
Who would be your dream opponent, and what would be the dream arena that you would love to wrestle in?
Oh, what a wonderful question. I honestly would love to get in the ring. I know it's probably like a big dream, like probably won't happen, but you never know. It was almost close to happening, but I guess it didn't. But Nyla Rose, I would love to wrestle Nyla Rose. As far as arena, I'm really not sure. I would wherever I can go, where I can make it happen. Whoever wants to book it, I'm thankful for it. Because I really think Nyla is great. She's the lady that opened doors for girls like us. So I would love to have a match with her. It'd be very, you know, um, great. It would be good. I feel like it would be a great, hard hitting, dominant match. We're both powerhouses. I mean, she's probably way more stronger than me, but I feel like it'll be great.
at least now you don't have to worry about Vicky Guerrero yelling every 2 seconds. So you have that to at least be happy about. But Layla, I appreciate you hopping on with me tonight. It means a lot.
I don't want to go.
The door is always open for you to come back on whenever you would like. And what I always tell, especially with a lot of people from Dynasty, and it's only my rule with Dynasty, every other promotion I deal with, the door is somewhat closed. You have to knock. For Dynasty, yeah, the door's just open. Actually, I took the door off the hinges already.
Aww.
Just, because the one thing with me is I try to give as much coverage as I can. And because of everything Dynasty has done for me and the podcast, I put them over as much as I can.
Yes, that's great because Dynasty is really awesome. I love Dynasty. Shout out to Dynasty. Woo!
Yep, shout out to Dynasty. Shout out to Chris and what he's done. Yeah, Chris, I'm making your ego now a little bit bigger there, buddy. I kid. But Layla, where can the fans connect with you on social media, and what else do you have coming up that you'd like to promote?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram, Miss Laylah James. How it is spelled in the name below me. And also YouTube, Miss Laylah James. And I want you guys to stay tuned for, Dynasty the 29th. I will be there. I'm really excited. I can't wait. And yeah, just stay updated. I'm always posting the shows that I'm going to be a part of. I'm usually always doing something every month, 2 to 3 shows a month. So yeah. So right now, I mean, I do know that I have 2 other shows, but I don't remember at the top of my head right now. But
It's all good, guys.
old.
All of Layla's social media accounts will be in the description box below. And also the link to buy your tickets for Light Up the Sky will also be in the description box below. Go to purplepass.com/ladders. I don't know how they come up with the names for these, but that's the name they came up with. But guys, all that will be in the description below. Guys, as always, go support independent wrestling. They're some of the best talent out there. And who knows, you could be seeing somebody now who in 5 years from now could be on WWE or AEW and in the main event of WrestleMania. Who knows? But guys, for Layla, I'm John. This has been an ATR exclusive. We'll catch you guys here next time.
See ya!